Hello, welcome to Phoenix Unleashed. I am your host, Shifra Hendry, and we're going to talk about one of the most important secrets to success in these really crazy times, or actually any times, but especially now. So, the Torah is a giant story. It's the blueprint for creation. It's a story told by source, by creator. And he is figures prominently in the story, and so do you. So the whole world is generated through the storytelling of God, of Hashem, of Creator. But since you're part of that story, you actually get to create it, to write it as well. So as one teacher once put it, and I think it's pretty compelling. We're living art. Each one of us is living art. So our own individual lives are also stories. We have an arc. We're born into a family. There's drama, there are relationships, there are highs and lows. As we grow, our birth itself, it can be a drama. All of life is filled with events. And as soon as we're old enough to process those events, as soon as we have enough consciousness to process those events, to evaluate, are they good or bad, or am I good or bad? There's a certain point, and it doesn't take very long, where the child starts to get a sense of self. And that sense of self is usually based on evaluation. Am I doing well enough? Are my parents happy with me? Does mommy love me? Am I getting what I need? Did I do something wrong? Did somebody yell at me? Did somebody say no? Whatever it may be, it's inevitable. I'm not saying that we can abort this process. It's part of the process on purpose, because it downloads the drama that is meant to be part of life, that is meant to be part of this vast cosmic story, downloads it into each one of us on an individual level. So within our own stories, we interact with other people who have their stories. Everyone is the center of their stories. It's just the nature of the beast. This is all part of the divine plan. We're created in a way that we are the center of our universe. It doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like alone, unsupported, abandoned. But in any case, we are each the center of our own story. So most of the time, as human beings, we are wired to feel like a victim, to feel helpless, to feel like we're being burdened by circumstances. And how that takes place, a way that gets reinforced, the main way that gets reinforced is in the way that we interpret the events of our lives. So if you're the center of your story and something is coming hard, something's not working, an opportunity fell through, or a challenge came up in your life. I don't even like to mention these things so much specifically, because I don't wish it on anyone. I wish for the opposite. But, people have experienced illness and loss and financial struggles and relationship struggles and loss and abandonment. I said loss, abandonment, betrayal, all kinds of things, all kinds of things. If you are the center of your story, which, as I said, you're wired to that experience. It's part of, I'm not going to go into why right now, but there is a profound reason why we're each wired to feel like the center of the universe. But since you are the center of the universe, of your story, it is natural. It's pretty much inevitable that anything that seems wrong to you, based on your subjective interpretation, is going to feel like your fault. And because it feels like your fault, you're either going to beat up on yourself, feel victimized by yourself, or you're going to out project and blame it on somebody else. That's what we do. Actually, in the Garden of Eden, as I've mentioned before, this is exactly the archetype. This is the story that happened when the snake that God put in the garden, approached these cosmically conscious beings, particularly Eve, and said, if you eat from this tree that God told you not to eat from, you'll be like God. And again, there's a lot more to this story, which I won't go into right now. But when she ate from it and convinced Adam to eat from it, and they experienced this vast fall in consciousness, and they realized that they were naked, and they hid with all that means. And God said, Ayeka, where are you? So they didn't answer at first. And when they answered, when they came out of hiding, Adam said, it's not my fault, basically. It's the woman that you gave me. And Eve said, it's not my fault. It's the snake. So this is the out projection that comes when we're a victim of our story. So by being the center of your story, in a way that is not yet completely evolved, that you are not yet completely evolved, you end up being the victim of your story. So the first, again, our first impulse when someone criticizes you, you feel it in your body, you feel it in your chest, you feel it in your stomach, wherever you feel it, it has a grip on you. And the normal response will be to, either verbally or in like resentment, and to push it back on the other person or someone else, to blame someone or something else, because it's intolerable for us on a deep inner level to feel that feeling of messing up our world. How could I be so awful? How could I have done that? How could I have caused the fall of all of humanity? How could I have broken that relationship? How could I have said that thing? How could I have betrayed that person? And it takes a very, very big person to take responsibility, which does not mean beating up the self. Beating up is not taking responsibility. Beating up is being a victim. And being a victim makes you helpless. So here you are, the center of your world, interpreting all events as if they're generated by you, but not being willing to face that, not taking the power that goes with that. If that were really true, is this the world you would create? Is this the life that you would create? And then beating up on yourself, and then generally, really quickly, out projecting that on other people, whether through your angry words and behaviors or through your inner resentment or your withdrawal. And none of that is going to help you in any way. And it's not going to help the world. And it's not going to change your relationships. And it's not going to undo this entangled web that is called exile, gullus. And that's what we're here for now. We're here for the awakening. We're here for the disentanglement of the exile. We're here for redemption. So how does that happen? What is the secret that I'm talking about? Again, the secret to success in crazy times. So that secret to success is stop seeing yourself as the victim of your story and own that you're the hero of your story. How do you become the hero of your story? You take a step back into a bigger frame. What's that bigger frame? I'm not writing this story by myself. I'm a character in this story. I'm the hero, but the story is written by something much bigger than me, and that is the creator. That is God, source, divine, Hashem. And when you can really wire that in, that you're not writing this story, you're not creating the world, you're not the center of the world, but you are the hero of your own portion of it, of your own story, then you can begin to take advantage of all of the divine powers that are embedded in you. And one of those most important powers is the power of expanding consciousness and transformation. So when you realize what the real picture here is, when you realize that not only your advantages, not only your upside is coming from God, as part of your package, as part of your gift, as part of your power, but all of your challenges, obstacles, weaknesses, even the fatal flaws, the traumatic emotions, the mistakes, all of it, that it's all part of the story that's being brought into being in real time so that you can be the hero of it, meaning you can transform darkness to light, which is the core purpose for creation. The core purpose for creation is to transform darkness into light. How do you do that if you have no darkness? How do you do that if you have no darkness inside? You can't transform someone else's darkness. You can't. Try changing someone else. Try changing someone else on a deep level and see what happens. Can't do it. It's not the way it's designed. You can only change yourself. So if the core purpose of creation is to transform darkness into light, where does that darkness have to be in order for you to be able to transform it? It has to be in you, right? So think about it for a second. So if God is creating the world, and here's another piece, God didn't create the world once to leave it running on its own, to let us stumble and fail, and then he's going to destroy us. And that's a very bad story. God is creating the world according to mystical Torah, authentic Kabbalah, and Hasidus at every instant, from nothing, from infinite, from ayin, not nothing like zero, nothing like everything, nothing like infinite divine potential, undifferentiated divine potential. And you know what's guiding and running that creative process out of that, bringing something into being out of nothing at every instant? That's divine desire. So out of desire, at every nano instant, God is bringing back you and your life circumstances and everything in the world and everyone in the world, and not just this world, but all the spiritual worlds as well, and the multiverse and the cosmos, everything, every instant, from nothing, out of divine desire, which means, this is simple math, simple logic, which equals that everything that happens, everything that when you look around or you look within, at your emotions, at the state of your relationships, at the room, that's surrounding you, at the body that you're in, everything has come back right now and right now and right now, right now, exactly as it is, because God has a desire for that to be the platform for your purpose to transform darkness into light. Okay? So how can you do that if you're the victim? How can you do that if you're the cause? If it's your fault? How can you do that if it's random? How can you do that if you're out projecting on somebody else and not taking responsibility for your role? How can you do that unless you're the hero of your story? So imagine if you could wake up in the morning and go throughout the day and go to sleep at night, believing, knowing that you're here for a purpose, that everything around you is like a virtual reality universe. We're already in the metaverse. I call it the Chaim verse, the word meta. A lot of people think this is intentional, but it actually means dead in Hebrew. But anyway, imagine, and this is actually true, or a lot closer to the truth than what we think, than the way we perceive things, that the entire universe around you, all the other players, everything is being custom created, brought into your consciousness in this moment, and this moment, and this moment, from ayin, from undifferentiated, infinite divine potential and divine desire, so that you can be the hero. So if transforming darkness means having darkness within you, can you be the hero? Does being the hero mean that there's no darkness in your life, no challenges, no falling, no struggle, no drama? No. Every exciting story has struggle and drama. Every opportunity for transformation has to include the entire dramatic sequence of the challenge and the resistance and the force and the courage and the falling back and the recharging and the breaking through. That's the nature of the story. That's the nature of life. That's the nature of heroism. By the way, it's not going to be like this forever. This is the stage that we're in. But to get through it, to get past this process that we call awakening, or that we call the birth, or the contractions, or the, whatever you want to call this stage, this chaotic stage, we need to start to see what's really going on. So you're created in a drama. That drama is a virtual reality brought to you by divine desire, not only by divine desire, but it is made of divine desire, as are you, including all of its flaws, concealments, obstacles, challenges, failures, etc. All of it is part of the game. It's part of the drama. It's not here for you to lose. It's here for you to win. Your partner, your silent partner, is God. Okay, that's number one. Imagine if you knew that, if you really wired that in, what would change in your life? What would change in the way you approach your issues? What would change in the feeling that you have as you wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night? What if you didn't have to blame yourself for everything? Not blaming doesn't mean not taking responsibility. It's paradoxical on first glance. It's counterintuitive. But the truth is that when you blame yourself, you're not taking responsibility. You're beating yourself up instead, or someone else beating someone else up instead. So all of this judgment, there's a vast difference between judgment and discernment. Discernment is crucial. Judgment is toxic. Okay? So that's step number one. There's a vast drama. Everything about your life is part of it, but it's a divine drama. You are the hero of that drama. You are not the victim. You are not the failure. You're not the cause. Okay, but you are responsible for stepping in and fighting the fight. Does the hero win every time again? Absolutely not. Even if that fight is stop smoking, or don't yell, or pray more, or pray at all, or whatever it is. Get out of bed in the morning, wherever you're at. That's your fight. That's your fight in that moment. That's your drama. Now, what does it mean to be the hero? What would that look like? What would that feel like? And, I think another really important secret is that it doesn't mean pushing harder and doing without more. Because if you see the creator as your enemy, again, that's taking you into judgment. When we are operating under overt and covert judgment, we've internalized the feeling that something's wrong with us to such a degree that often we don't even notice it. But wars are fought over this. Change is shut down because of this, because people resist it. People are afraid of it. We don't step forward into our potential because inside we know that something is deeply wrong with us, whether we are successful on the outside or not. Inside, we all know that something's deeply wrong with us. And that's because intrinsically we believe that we shouldn't have challenge and we shouldn't have failure. And because we believe we're the center of the universe and we're the cause. So let's take it another step further and say you are the center of your story, but you are not the center of your universe. You're the hero of your story. You're the main character in your story. But someone else is generating the story and all the other characters and all the circumstances, not just what's around you, but what comes up from within you. Chassidus says that even the thoughts that come into your mind are from above. The ones that you deliberately, consciously choose to entertain, that's your choice. How much you succeed, that's the story. That's not coming from you. So here's the expression from the Torah, Hakol b'yedei shamayim, everything is in the hands of heaven, chutz miyiras shamayim, except for the fear of heaven. Fear doesn't mean to trembling in fear, not that word. It means the awe, it means the reverence, it means the acknowledgement, the awareness, the consciousness. So everything is in the hands of heaven, of God, the storyteller, the divine craftsman, except for how much you pursue divine consciousness, how much you lean into your mission, how much you intend to. And even there, you forget, you get distracted. We all do. That's part of the story. Now that you realize you were distracted, what do you choose next? Do you choose beating yourself up or resenting it or giving up or resenting the storyteller? Do you believe it's really your fault and therefore it's someone else's fault because who could live with that? Or are you going to let it go? And I'm here to tell you that a key of awakening right now, especially in chaotic times, like I said at the beginning, all times, this is the secret of success in all times, but especially in chaotic times, and times are getting more chaotic for a while. So the more you can let go of resistance to whatever is, the more you can wire in that is being brought to you in real time. Again, like a cosmic virtual reality generator, cosmic metaverse, by the real source, by the real cause. The more you understand that this is God's desire, that everything about you is God's desire, or it wouldn't exist right now. And yes, God also desires that you transform it, but do you have total control over that? You do not. I'll tell you a little story. It's not a story. I mean, it's from actually, it's a parable. It's from a deep Hasidic discourse by the Alter Rebbe, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe. Just this little excerpt. He says, he points out that there was a time that in the times of kings and nobles, maybe this still exists in places, I'm sure it does, but they would have stadiums, these big fields with spectators, and in the stadium they would have a large animal. I might have said this in a previous live at one time, but I'll say it again. They would have a big giant animal like a lion or a bear, and they would chain that animal, not really, really tightly, but they'd chain its paws so it could reach back and it could go forward, but then the chain would stop it. It couldn't get all the way. And then they would unleash on these big animals. It's horrible. It's a horrible story. They would unleash on these big, fierce animals, little annoying, biting animals like rats or, whatever. And those animals would attack the big animal, and the big animal would raise its mighty paw, and theoretically in an instant with one blow, it could destroy them all, but it would get stopped. That's like our lives. There's only a certain... It can sound depressing at first glance, but if you learn how to flow with it, it's exhilarating and glorious because it's the biggest PowerPoint. It truly is a secret to success. So if the lion would be thinking, I should be able to wipe out these creatures and I can't, what's wrong with me? I thought I was a lion and I'm a failure and I shouldn't even try. I'll just lie down and let them eat me or whatever. Not much would happen. The lion doesn't give up. So the lion, as it's doing this, is building the muscles in its arm. And when it's finally, and this is the rest of the parable, at some point, and the kings and nobles are laughing, why they're laughing is a whole other question, but they're enjoying this drama, this challenge, this unresolved tension, this impossible situation. At some point they do the flip, they turn it around, they take the chains off the animal, off the lion, and the lion, retaining its full fierceness because it didn't give up, it just roars and leaps, and all of the attackers are out of the way in an instant. So that's really you and me. We have these attackers. There are inner feelings, there are resistance, there are self-judgment, there are out projection, self-projection and judging others. They are our cynicism. They are our sense of failure. All of it comes from a misapprehension, believing that you are the center of your universe to the point where you're the cause of everything. Number one. Number two, believing that to succeed, you shouldn't have flaws. You shouldn't feel change. You shouldn't feel that you have challenges. That's the opposite of the truth. That's the anti-purpose. And number three, that you don't have what it takes. That makes you the victim. You're not here to be the victim. You're here to be the hero. And I think that transition in many ways is the number one core foundational transformation of darkness into light, to change roles. When you change your identity, when you change your role in the story, when you claim the role of hero, then the entire story changes. Then instead of backing off, withdrawing, shrinking, yelling, drinking, whatever it is that we do when we get hit with our own painful judgment, that feeling that something is so deeply wrong with me, I'm fatally flawed. We all have it, whether we're aware of it or not. It's part of our divine makeup on purpose, because that is our purpose. So when we get stuck there, then we're like Adam and Eve, hiding. They were naked. I'm bad. They were shamed. I can't be seen. I have to hide. I have to pretend. I have to project. And, it was meant to be. There's no doubt about it. The Torah is the blueprint for creation. It had to be like this. And there were extremely powerful reasons why, beyond the scope of this live, but maybe we'll get into it. But if they had just said, here we are, we made a big boo-boo, and we don't know what to do, that would have already been what's called Shuva in the Torah, return, awakening, return to self. And the whole story would have been different. It wouldn't have taken anywhere near this long. It wouldn't have included any of these trillions of experiences of pain and suffering. But it also would have been that also, since here we are, that was also meant to be. So we say it could have been only to learn the lesson, only to take the moral of the story and incorporate it into the future. But the past had to be the way it was. You know how I know? Because it was like that. And this is another deep, I don't want to get too deep here. I think I'm not going to go into another concept. I think we'll just wrap it up here with this idea that when you can change your role, which means recognize that you're not the source, you're not the cause, though you are the center and the hero of your story. Likewise, you're not the victim of your story, which goes with feeling like you're the cause. When you recognize that the purpose of creation, including your purpose, is to turn darkness into light, and that means you must have darkness, challenge, flaws, failures, or there's nothing to transform. Your challenges are the raw material for your total divine consciousness and illumination. Believe me, I'm not going to explain it now, but it's the truth. When you realize that the world isn't solid and it's being brought into being out of divine desire at every instant, meaning that everything that is right now is what God wants it to be, or it wouldn't be. Not that he wants it to stay like this. There's a cosmic game that's being played, and it's a very significant one. The stakes are the future of the universe. The stakes are divine destiny, and the path that it's going to take to get there, and the speed with which we're going to get there. So that will be very accelerated. The next phase is heaven on earth, and we'll see what happens after that. That will be very accelerated, vastly accelerated by you moving from the false consciousness of these things that I mentioned, and particularly that you're the victim of your story and the cause of all the negativity, and when you realize that you're the hero. So if you can glide through this universe that's being as it's being, even most of the time, you're going to fail sometimes too. That's also meant to be. But we always have another chance. When we're looking to the next moment, we're learning from the past and doing our best. When our best wasn't good enough to get the results that we think we should have gotten, we have to remember that that was the divine plan. Now we know, because it already happened. Before it happens, we don't know. So your job is to do your best. What is your best on any given day? Maybe you're tired. Maybe you didn't realize. Maybe you were just fed up and something came out of your mouth or something went into your mouth. If you have to learn wisdom, you have to make amends, do it. Take responsibility, because you're the hero. That's what heroes do. But heroes cannot waste time or energy or power beating themselves up, and certainly not blaming someone else. So it's time to take care of business. And why? Because this is the awakening, because this is the redemption, this is the Geula. and it's serious. It's life and death. We're moving to a world where there is no death, but we're not there yet. And suffering is real and it matters. And you matter. And you are here for this time and you are here for this purpose. So let's see how much we can lean into that. If you're in, I want to hear from you. I'm in. I want to see that in the comments. If you want other people to be in, as you know, as usual, like, comment, share. That's how the Facebook algorithms get the videos seen. Only a few people will see a video unless it's liked by a lot of people or it's shared. Just because you're someone's friend does not mean you'll see any of their stuff, even if they're posting 20 times a day. So we want to spread light, and I don't just mean that in an airy-fairy way. I mean, we want to spread divine light. Divine light, when it gets into the cells, when it gets into the systems, when it gets into the minds and the hearts and the bodies, it heals everything. Everything from the inside, everything from the outside, and that's why you're here. So let's do that. And let me give you a quick preview. Actually, I didn't plan this in advance, but I just want to let you know a couple other things. Number one, if you want to find out more about my work and how I can support you, you can do so at gateofunity.com. Number two, if you know about me, if you've ever participated in any of my summits, starting in 2010, I had a online summit called Quantum Healing, Consciousness, and Soul, where I interviewed many luminaries, healers especially, from all walks of life, and usually would bring in a couple of Torah teachers as well. I mean, always I did that. So then you might know me. Some people know me from there, or you might know me from the Geula summits, the two that I did in the last 3 years. So I'm planning a summit, and it's going to start on May 8th. And I hope to combine both kinds of speakers. And I would love to hear from you. Who do you want to see? When you look at the world and you look at the state of the world, when you look inside, look around you, and you see what's going on, who do you wish would help to fix it? Whose wisdom do you wish, who do you check to see, are they offering anything new? Do they have anything to say about this? So those are the people, or who's transformed your life? Who would you rush to listen to? Who do you want other people to see and hear? So I'd love to hear from you. You can post your comments and feedbacks right here in the YouTube or the Facebook. I'd love to hear from you, who you would like to see included in the summit, and let's co-create it together. All right, all you heroes. I'll see you next week, same time, same station.